Alright, Chapter 2, the boiler shop. Boilerplate for the making of the boiler baler. The steel plate for delivered to the boiler shop after they have been shared on the side with about 1/2 inch of larger all around that's fine finished side with which they are put together with the boiler. They must be of the various finest quality, since they have to undergo the process with such flagging, punching, and etc., which would inevitably crack and otherwise injure the inferior material. After arrival, the plates are first straightened to remove any slight waviness by passing them with the machine, sometimes known as the mangle, which with a number of the hard steel rollers, usually from above the three or below, by the passing of the plate from between the upper and lower rollers 2 or 3 times by the rear regulators are removed. Length of the barrel in the boiler may vary with about 10 feet to 16.5 foot. The British engine and boiler barrels up to 12 foot long. The 2 plates are generally used instead of the 3 plates, as in former practice for the long barrel. 3 plates are usual. There 2 are sometimes used. The engine has been built with a Great Northern Railway, in which they a barrel with 11 foot and 5.5 inches long is made with a single plate. Such the plates have the advantage of the dispensing with the transverse riveted seam and are consequently stronger than large plates are above certain commercial sizes and more expensive per ton weight. The plates have been joined together with the riveted joints that each plate is bended around the true circle of the edge of which come together with the cover of the narrow plate for the outside inside of the boiler. The narrow plates are called butt strips, which are fixed properly in place with the riveted to the main plate for the form the joint running longitudinally along the boiler. The forms one ring of the boiler barrel. This second ring is made with similar with the 2 rings that have the united rivets to form the complete layer of the barrel. The latter joint is termed with the transverse made by the 2 rings of the same diameter, in which case the narrow weldless ring B must be riveted all around with circumference over the joint. More frequently, however, the front ring is made with a small diameter for the back of the ring that's sufficient to allow it to enter telescopically inside of the back ring for a short distance. Then the 2 became riveted directly to each other. The boiler illustrated in Figure 2 the difference from the one mentioned above. There's 3 rings of the same diameter for the united with a single riveted circular butt strips B, i.e. there is only 1 row of rivets at each side with the transverse joint, with the longitude joints A, where the end of each ring are joined together, have double riveted butt straps, i.e. there are 2 rows of rivets each side of the joint. Let me flip the picture for you. Alright, you have Figure 2 sections through the locomotive boiler. These show the front end of D and G. Longitudinal section, half of the plane of the dome, the L, E, and then E, and M, and N, and K, and N, and H. Sectional plane of the foundation of the ring, half section of the throw for the firebox, the dome, and the front end. Alright, before the barrel rings are made with the joint of the straight end of the plate with the marked off for the rivet hole with the brush packs of the holes are usually drilled and buttoned. Some of the works invariable with American practice today are punch for the barrel of the plates and jurors to the metal with immediately surrounding the hole. Therefore, the stretch holes of the punch are smaller than the finished size, afterwards enlarged, passing through the tool within forming the brown drill within the cutting edge known as the reamer. This operation removes the damaged metal. The exact position of each rivet hole has to be marked off each plate with punching and adapted when the holes of the drilled 5 to 6 plates are taken out of the time. Only the top of the plate with marked off the plate and the place with the secured onto the radial drill machine. Figure 3, each of the hole marked on the top of the plate is drilled through all plates with a single operation. The top plate is again used the template guide for the drilling of the holes. Next batch plates. The plates have also marked off at the edge of all around so that they can be finished with the exact size, but they may be done from the drawings. In the case of only one of the 2 boilers being made, when the large number is in hand, the marking off is usually done with a template. The template is a sheet of metal cut out like a dresser maker's pattern to exact size of the plate. In most cases, they also have the riveted over their holes riveted in to show their position. Finally, edge of the plates are machined to the side with a special edge plate with machining, in which the cutting tool moves along with the edge with the full length of the width of the plate. Alright, rotate the picture. This shows Figure 3 shows the radial drilling machine for the boiler plates. The next operation is bend the barrel plates into the circular ring for the dome with another form of the mangle and other plate blending rolls in the machine. That there are 2 bottom rolls that rotate the fixed bearings and one at the top of the roll of the bearings, in which can be moved up and down vertically. By gradually bringing the top of the down each time of the plate is passed back and forwards through the rolls, and the pressure is brought to the bear of the plate with the end passing through the sufficient number of times and gradually be bent to the true circle except the ends where the curvature is complete and the pressing or hammering into the block. The last operation is the greatest importance, has to be done with the impossible to finish for the edge of the plate when the true circle of the rolls, unless the true circular can be formed be obtained with the boiler, will straighten in the joint and give it endless trouble in service. Figure 5 shows the boiler shell drilling machine. And many work for the bulk with the rivet hole for the down drill until the plates have been bent with the put together on. The only few holes have been made through the bolts of the passage to hold the blades together in place. Boilers afterward raised to the end of the screw of the revolving table of the boiler and shell drilling machine. Figure 5, all the riveted holes drilled through the plates in position to produce the holes which come accurately opposite each other. Boiler tube and backplate fireback casing. The smoke box tube plate shown in Figure C on the left-hand side of Figure 2. The flat plate circular in the shape of the cassette at the bottom of the way there is projection D. The fastened to the cylinder for the edge of the flame with the right angle of the all-around except below the base of the projection method. The operation of flanging required with considerable skill with greater care, with the consisting of the heat of the plate with a larger furnace with good red heat, and then squeezing it in between the shape of the cast iron blocks into the hydraulic pressure type shown in Figure 6, capable of developing a total pressure of 300 to 400 tons. Capable of pressing slides up and down on 4 columns that can be actuated by the plungers of the hydraulic ram with underneath the heavy cast of the iron blocks and die and have the machine with the shape of the finished plate with the jointed together the corner inside of the flange being grounded with the proper radii. Lower blocks are bolted in the bottom of the table of the press and upper. Figure 6 shows the hydraulic flanging press. The upper block for the crosshead of the top of the curve, the shape of the block that are made with it, they are pressed together with a sufficient space between the thickness for the plate. There are 2 sets for the ram, the larger for the main ram, but the smaller for the vice rams. The block and dies are fixed within the tie, and the fix of the plate with the flange has been placed with the proper position, which with the head on the steady pin for the enter of the hole for the plate with the vice ram, to move the table up and grip the plate with firmly between the bottom and the top of the block for the pressure with the put on the main ram, with the squeeze of the plate within its required shape between the dive to the foot, while the operation is done with the one heat. The firebox plate is flamed with a similar man with the dies for the instance medium shape so that the fire hole is also pressed with the necessary forms. The throat plate, Figure EE, Figure 2, which connects with the firebox to the shell with the barrel over the boiler, is off the complicated shape that has been flanged in 2 opposite directions since the upper portion has been to have the similar semicircular flange turned forward to the boil barrel and the bottom of the part with the flange backwards connect with the firebox shell with the wrapper plate with the plate required with extreme care with the flanging to prevent damage for the material side, and the top of the F with the firebox shells are frequently made in one piece called the upper wrapper plate, which requires no flanging. The top of the portion is usually circular and forms a continuation of the boiler barrel, and the circular portion produces the means for the plate bending of the rolls. Assembly of the boiler. The boiler barrel is attached with the smoke box tube plate with by means of the continuous weld, a gang of the iron ring with a G Figure 2 with this face of the bore with larger lathe on the boring mill. The 2 fit over at the end of the circular barrel plate on which the trunk of the being heated slightly so that it expands when put into place. Contracts the grip of the barrel plate with which the riveted all around the circle with the foundation ring. At the bottom of the firebox steel casing of the forging of the rectangular shop at the side of the must be with the perfectly square as it has to fit accurately between the iron copper and the firebox for the firebox outer shell and the casing of the machine with the ground with the accurate dimension for the rivet holes marked with the out of the drill but then fitted with the firebox shell. The hole of the plates partly then put together was temporarily held in place with the bolt through the small of the rivet hole with the structure having been leveled carefully so that they differ in place with the square in line with one another. The careful measurements are made. See that the parts come together in accordance with the drawings and templates, and straight edges are used to test the alignment and the squareness when the correcting rivet is done, except the foundation ring, which can be riveted under the inner copper firebox to put in place. The riveting of the former years have been done entirely with a hand by 3 men with the boy being employed. Boy attending the heating of the rivet, suitable and portable furnace, 1 man with the place for the hot riveting in the hole, then held up the hot tightly against the plate with a heavy dolly tool which activated the anvil to take the force of the blow of the other 2 men on the opposite side with the hammer down with the protruding the shank, shanking the rivet until the head of the was formed. Present day with the particular hydraulic riveting machines are used invariably with they have shaped after the manners from pincer claw with the lobster which grab the rivets with the both sides with the tie plates and squeeze it until up into the hole. Before any of the riveting is done, it must be seen with the holes and seen that the holes come fair and true with each other, the marking off of the done properly the template, usually when the case of all holes which may come quite true and drilled and reamered out with a slightly larger size, larger rivets are used in them. Holes which have originally drilled instead of the punch holes are more accurately in respect for the true alignment An important point in putting the boiler together is to see that the expansion brackets and the angle irons in K, figure 2, which support the boiler and outer frame of the firebox are perfectly level, and otherwise the boiler may be aligned with the frame and not expanded properly when heat. Alright, the dome safety valve setting. The dome L with the figure 2 with the form with a small plate bent with the ring with the joint being either riveted or welded flange with the bottom of the press beam with the block for the bane with the suitable shape of the flange with the portion fits on the circular barrel plate with the boiler which in the circular hole has been made and is riveted to the dome cover the dish of the plate with when pressed in the shape of the becomes between the block for the press sometimes under the seam hammer the cover that's secure with the dome with chest face the flange for the angle iron ring for the purpose of the stuff of the nuts and being used to cover the cam the beam be removed. The required safety valve seating and the cover of the M and are made with a similar manner. After the boilers have been riveted over the seams and the joints are caulked, and this process of the making of the joints a thoroughly straight seam type of the preventing of the leakage of the consisting of the burning up of the edge of the top of the blades of the tool, forming the chisel without the broad blunt edge of the case. Care must be taken not to use thin or sharp edge with the chisel with the place with the injure of their edge of the force apart with the caulking, which is formally done by hand, is not done with a pneumatic hammer. Inside firebox and stay with the inside firebox end figure 2 with the copper plate for the plate at the edge of the rivet. Stay holes are marked off the drilled in the same manner in the steel blades in the boiler and firebox shell. Flanging, however, is done usually by hand. The plates that have been heated with a hammer down over the sharpened blocks with the wooden mouth of the fire hole, circumference which has been flanged outward to join the door plate with the firebox shells. However, disable the hydraulic press. Figure 2, the older form of the fire ring is used instead of the flange. Constructs the flanges are then cut and leveled and placing the plates on the table over the large horizontal bandsaw, setting them level with the saw to cut off the ragged edge of the leaf of the flange with correct width. The holes of the tube of the copper firebox of the tube plate with also steel smoke box tubes are marked off with either drawing them out of the detail with the place where the isolated engine is being made with the marking their position for the template and several engines are being built. The firebox are fitted with the foundation of the ring of the put together with a similar manner to those of the firebox. The rivets of the vary with the soft iron steel with the generally used with the copper. The firebox with the copper rivets have been used with the country with the steel with the used in some of the French railways. The riveting is done with the hydraulic riveter having a very large gap in the jaws between the pressure head used in the copper plates, considerably less than used within steel plates of the boiler. But if the roof stays over the girder and or the bar pattern, CO figure 2, they have the marked off fitted with the firebox before with the later for the latter and put into the sucker with the steel firebox shell. Put the copper firebox into plate for the boiler, lifted with the crane to turn the upside down with the show that it rests on the backside, supported with the block for the bottom of the firebox casing upward. The copper face firebox is lifted with the crane and gently lowered with the firebox casing. To accomplish the foundation ring, which has been placed temporarily in position, will have been removed. The firebox to be set with a measurement with the marks in the center of the lines. Century of the line so that it will occupy the exactly central position when everything is correct for the firebox and the shell is riveted together through the replaced foundation ring with long rivets also with the fire hole ring with the roof stay holes and the bolt for the firebox on top of the shell with the direct the roof stay bolts are used in the reamered out with long reamers and the holes are tapped in position and stay screwed with the thread. The reamering and the tapping of the screws through the plates are done by means of pneumatic drilling machines. They are driven at high speed with the compressed air and arranged with the taking the drills, reamer tape, etc. as required. It may have mentioned earlier. Every modern boiler shop is equipped with the complete air compression plant from which the pipes are taken to every part of the shop. To a large number of the points of these pipes of the flexible tubes can be attached with the same serve the pneumatic chipping and the caulking hammers, portable drilling machines, etc. so that these tools can be used with any of the portion of the boiler, whichever the part of the shop that may be standing. The holes of the short side of the stave with the similar with the reamed out and tapped. The copper side with the side stays on the turn screw with automatic lathe with the threads have them made very, very accurately shaped and essential for that they should have fit tightly into the tap screws. Holes in copper lathes and the firebox and the steel blocks of the firebox shell. After having been screwed into the position either by hand or a pneumatic machine, the ends of the staves are cut off at the definite length with the lengths of the with leaves of short length of the projection of each side of the plates with riveted over. Alright, your tubes. The tubes are put in from the smoke box into the holes of the front tube plate thing with the purpose of the more slightly larger for the outside the diameter of the body of the tubes. The tubes themselves are enlarged with the smoke box and then swagged down with a slightly smaller diameter at the other end of the pass with the firebox tube plate with the later end with the tube. The projection with the firebox about 3/8 of an inch with the allow with the bending over the end of the up against the copper tube with the tighten within the hole of the main of the tube expanded with a special tool provided with the number of the rollers, the place inside of the tube, the metal of which is rolled outwards until the tight fit within the holes. In the case of the steel tube, the rigid bending with is rolled onto the tube, the boiler side with the firebox tube plate. The brass and copper tubes expand with the screw of the driver, shorting piece with the steel tube with the called ferrules at the tightly with the end of the which they pass through the tube plate and the smoke box end of the tubes are merely expanded near the bending of the newer ferrules being used. Alright, mountings. The boiler is presented to do another part of the shop that they have the mountings put on there, determined included with the brass other fittings with the safety valve with the water steam with the gauge with the cock with the British practice with the mountings, the not screw directly into the boiler plate. Steel pads and seating of the seam shape of the flange of the mountings have been previously riveted with the boiler flange with the shear of these sides, but the joints are secure. Joints are faced and scraped with either made with the metal with the boiled in line seed oil or a thin sheet of the asbestos slightly smeared with red lead is placed between the face of the nuts with are tightened gradually to make the absolute steam tight joint. Boiler testing. Boiler before the leaveless shopping undergo the two tests. The first is the hydraulic test up with the pressure with the 25 to 50% with higher than the pressure at which the boiler work. And so for the safety valves are locked with the boiler filled up with the water with the necessary pressure obtained with the forcing additional water. Figure 7 shows the compression completed locomotive boiler. Okay, you will turn it one turn. That's your completed locomotive boiler. Alright, in by me for the pump of the connection with the boiler, flexible pipe with the hydraulic insulation with the shop, suitable with the pressure valve with the insert of the main to avoid any excessive pressure which with the strain with the boiler with that leak for the defect that had been made with the good before with the second and the steam test applied. Steam test pressure is limited to 10 pounds per square inch, except for the working pressure of the boiler is tested path and is painted with a good coat with the anti-corrosion paint, preserved place, and then ready for sending over the direction shaft to be placed on the engine. Figure 7 shows the locomotive boiler in its finished condition. Figure 7 reduces the outer bricks for the locomotive development. British Locomotive design kind of the diminishing of the Locomotive Publishing Company Limited Ltd. Opening in the front of the firebox casing with a special to this particular boiler does not exist with the ordinary boilers or standard construction. Chapter 3, Foundries.